And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes with us from Bueno Verix, who asked the question, Jet Li or Bruce Lee? Which is the better Lee? Who would win the fight? I do occasionally like real life figures in Who Would Win, just because it comes up. It's not like I avoid them. It just comes up. I've done Bruce Lee versus Jackie Chan. I have done I think Muhammad Ali versus Mike Tyson. So it happens every now and then. Jet Li versus Bruce Lee. Now, obviously, we'll never really know how good Bruce Lee would have been in his overall life because he died very early I believe, with a brain aneurysm is what happened. Very unfortunate. He died, I think, at like a 30-something, 32, 31. He died young. Jet Li is still around with us. And I mean, as a martial artist, obviously, he's keeps himself. So I mean, Jackie Chan. I mean, these guys, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, they take a beating on their bodies to be sure, but they can still do the stuff they need to do. It's just it takes a bit more effort now, and they're no longer I'm sorry, I can hear something's aggravating my dog downstairs. I can hear her growling. Like, is there someone across the street? She's just a nervous wreck of a dog. Anyway, I digress. So again, it's difficult to say. If we looked at Bruce Lee at his peak before he died, because honestly, he was so young, he probably hadn't even hit his peak yet. Like, think about how good Bruce Lee honestly was, sorry. How dangerous, how skilled a fighter, how strong, how fast, how skilled he was, and realize that he was so young still and so innovative. He had not even peaked yet. That is a frightening concept. An awesome concept, because I love Bruce Lee. So looking at both these guys, first off, if we're going to just look at the kind of shape both these guys are in, Bruce Lee has the advantage, bar none. We've seen Jet Li without his shirt on. We've seen him, and not saying that Jet Li's not in good shape. No, you have to be in good shape to do the kind of shit these guys do. But I'm talking about like literally if there was a shirt off scene like you got in the Coliseum with Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee, you would immediately tell which of them worked out more. I believe it was said that Bruce Lee had a 300 or 700 pound punching bag that he punched and could still move. That's how strong he was with his fists and how much momentum and power he could put in. I don't see Jet Li being that strong. Jet Li does not strike me as a muscled fighter. He doesn't strike me as a power hitter. He strikes me as a very fast and precise individual. So in terms of like the pure physicality strength side of it, I go Bruce Lee. In terms of durability, if we're looking at like what these guys could take, both in their movies and apparently in real life too, because I mean they do a lot of their actual stunts. Both these guys clearly could take a hit. I mean, you actually had the actual legitimate fight they had offset too, Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris, and Bruce apparently won that as well. And Chuck Norris is no slouch, so keep that in mind. Then there was the infamous fight with Wang Jackman, which, depending on who you hear, he either overwhelmed Wang Jackman or Wang Jackman beat him. But there's so much. There's only a couple people who actually saw that fight. That's one of the things I once said is that if I could go back in time and watch and go like see a couple events in history, that's one of the ones I would have loved to have seen just to know what the truth of that was. But no, we know Bruce can take a lot of hits, but Jet Li, okay, now Jet Li's not a Donnie Yen. Donnie Yen takes a beating in this movie. He's no Jackie Chan. If you want to talk about the king of taking beatings in movies and just all this like damage they've done to their body and stuff like that, oh, it's Jackie Chan, 100%. But Jet Li can still take a hit and keep going. But Jet Li also, he comes off a bit squishier, I guess is the best thing. He does, frail is in the right term. He just doesn't come off as someone who takes hits as well as some other fighters. So on a durability advantage, I would give it to Bruce. But here's where it starts to get a little bit more difficult. Speed, reflexes, and agility. Now, those sound like they all get lumped into the same category, but they're actually not. Speed, we're talking about striking speed. how fast they can deliver the punches, how fast they can deliver the kicks, reflexes, how fast can you block, which are two different things, and agility, how fast can you dodge. Those are three different things. And if we're talking about agility, I'm going to actually give it to Jet Li. Jet Li grew up in an era where the types of films were changing, so he had to adapt more. Bruce Lee wasn't in the type of film where the dodging was, mandatory or anything like that. Whereas Jet Li, his style developed in films like that. Now that's not to say in real life Bruce Lee couldn't dodge all. That's not at all. That's not saying that at all. But Jet Li, I think, actually has the dodging aspect down a bit more effectively. Reflexes is a really tough one. If I'm going to just give my opinion, and that's all I'm doing, I might lean towards Jet Li on that one, but that's a coin toss one, because reflexes, in terms of blocking, that's a very different thing, and like the style of combat just changed with martial arts later on. And to be fair, what Bruce Lee did was much more like was the predecessor to like UFC, mixed martial arts. So it's really difficult to say. In terms of striking speed, though, I will give it to Bruce. Because that man, you could not see him move. There's times you're like, what happened? Jet Li is fast, sure, but honestly, I don't know. I don't know if striking wise there was anyone quite as fast as Bruce Lee, except for maybe Ip Man, the man who trained him. Like seriously, the man. I don't even know if Muhammad Ali could. Because here's the thing: there's that punch. There's the infamous punch where he just caught, was it Joe Frazier, or I can't remember who he fought, that he just and caught him, no one saw it. But when you really look at it again, it's like, because you've watched it, you eventually can see the punch. You just can't, there's no way you'd be able to react to it in the ring, but you can follow the punch through. Bruce Lee literally could move like so fast you didn't see it. Like literally, I've seen some like footage of him when he was doing that. Like seriously, the way the man moved was insane. So that then comes down to the final thing of actual legitimate martial arts. And as a martial artist, I'm gonna give the edge to Bruce, although enough years had passed that Lee's probably developed a bit further than Bruce's. And like when I did a Jackie Chan one, I had to note that Jackie Chan knew the same martial art that Bruce Lee did. So, because I believe he even worked on a movie with him. And I'm pretty sure Jet Li does too. I just think that Bruce was the master of his own style, really. And again, like I mentioned also, he hadn't peaked. If these two met in a fight, I think Lee would be able to avoid a lot of strikes. I think he has the better ability to dodge, and I think his reflexes are a bit more solid. Physicality-wise, Bruce has the edge, and I think striking strength-wise, or striking speed and strength, he has the edge. They're probably comparable, with Bruce maybe just barely edging out in terms of the actual skill. But I think Lee is going to be able to avoid a lot of hits and still get hits in too, because that is one thing I think Bruce lacked, honestly. He had so much confidence in himself that even though he could dodge, and he certainly had the reflexes to dodge, he kind of did just take hits. Like if there was someone who could match him in speed, it was a detriment to him a little bit, like an actual fight. Not that there were many who could match him, mind you, but there were still, if he could meet someone who matched him in speed, then yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where his reflexes, as great as they were, and they were great, could be tested. And I think Jet Li does fit the means of someone who could test him on that. That said, Bruce has, like I said, Bruce I think has the greater durability overall. So he'll be able to take more punishment longer, and he's got the greater striking and strength and speed. So that means he's also going to be able to dish out more damage when he lands. So while I think it would be a drawn out fight, there'd be a lot of dodging, blocking, all that. when it's all said and done, when the strikes get put in, I think Jet Li is the one who ultimately is going down. That is, though, just my opinion. Like I said, I am iffy on some of the stats on these guys compared to each other. So I would not put money on. Like, if you were to say put $5 on someone, I'm probably gonna go Bruce. But if you were to say put $10, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna put $10. I'd be comfortable with the 5, not gonna be comfortable with the 10. Ultimately, though, who do you think would win? I've got Bruce, but I'm interested to hear what you'd think. This is one where I'm not 100% confident. If someone wants to try to argue, Jet Li's better. Okay, sure. Just make a good argument for it. I'll take it. Anyway, I digress. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know, and I'll see you later. Have a good one.